Welcome, everybody. Sekeres Price for Friday, December the 5th, 2025, a presentation of Bet365. And we are coming to you, well, it's complicated. We're coming to you from the Mobile Pacific Toyota dealer studio and at the Historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. I am Blake Price with the one and only Jeff Patterson there. Four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson is hitting switches and conducting things, and he's getting paid extra dollars today for dealing with all of the stuff that we have to deal with today. Full transparency, I am not at a Romanian castle in 1984, although it may appear to be. I'm in Dawson Creek to call the Para Cup Para Hockey Tournament. You'll see that on TSN over the weekend. Matt is en route to Miami to cover the MLS Cup final. Jeff is at the Wall Center. And we are indeed a mix of live and tape today. It's all new content, but there will be some wardrobe changes as a result. Jeff will come and go. We thank you, Jeff, for stopping by here today amidst our little bit of a circus.
Love what you've done with the place. The interior decorating is spectacular. Is this one of those hotels that still has like the sign on the outside that like free internet?
Virtually, yes, and it does have the water slide sign on the side of the hotel, and just as a chef's kiss, of course, the water slide and the hot tub do not work. So it's available to you in theory. I don't know, just Blake, not actually available.
It looks like you've got a hot tub in your room that might work.
There's something here. Yeah. It's this might be the honeymoon suite of the place. I'm not sure, but again, frozen in time and maybe in an Eastern Bloc country. It's unclear. But thankful for the gig here. And we've got a really jammed show, all things considered, as we jump around the space-time continuum. We'll start with today's poll question. Who wins MLS Cup MVP? Is it Lionel Messi? Is it Thomas Müller? Is it other? And yeah, I guess we are in essence asking who wins MLS Cup, but there's a little bit of a question here too, Jeff. You know, when you have these two superstars involved in the match, who rises to the occasion? Like who's more able and who has better pieces around them to possibly rise to the occasion and grab that MVP? What do you think?
I'm going off the board. I guess I'm hoping and expecting that Brian White's going to have a big game because he always seems to have a big game for the Whitecaps, and ultimately the name of the game is to outscore your opponent, and it's what he does. That's his job around here. He's been so good for so long for the Whitecaps. And I think what I like so much about this Caps team, I mean, they were already a good side before Thomas Müller joined in the summer, and we saw, like, even in the LAFC win here in Vancouver, he was okay. He had his moments, but they didn't need him to dominate. And the same thing in San Diego last week. And I think they've proven to themselves that, yeah, they're a way better team with Müller in the middle of the park, calling the shots, doing his thing, but they can win even if he doesn't stand out and isn't the best player on the pitch. And so Brian White has rose to the occasion so many times before for this group. I'm feeling a big game from him. So that's my pick for MVP.
Other key candidates from the Whitecaps, I guess Yohei Takaoka, more on him in a moment. Sepp Berhalter, I think, could rise to the occasion. Maybe if there's a bunch of defensive stops, maybe if Tristan Blackman starts the match, maybe he could be a guy that could be a candidate here. Tadeo Allende on Miami has been red hot, so maybe Luis Suarez off the bench. Who knows? Cast your vote. Voting available on our Twitter handle, of course, at Sekeres Price, and on our YouTube channels as well, as we look forward to our top story of the day, brought to you by Yellow Dog Neighborhood Brewing and Foolish Winery. First title, last title for the Whitecaps, Jeff. The Whitecaps have all of the buildup, all of the excitement, all of the love heading into this MLS Cup final. And the day before it comes out, and really, this is I saw some people blaming the messenger, blaming the reporting from The Athletic, but Don Garber adding to it with his press conference yesterday, in which he cast some doubt about the future of the Whitecaps in BC Place. First, let's hear from the commissioner before we get your thoughts on it, Jeff. Here's Don Garber yesterday.
The MLS team, its owners, its fans, its players have done everything to earn the support that they're not getting today from the city and from the province. And that's an untenable situation, Jeff, as you know, I've said many times. What more can you do to have a team in Vancouver that's been playing for over a decade go to a final and basically convince, the entire country that MLS is an important and valuable part of the sporting landscape? We've been building soccer stadiums, and as you know, soon to have 30 of them. We are a tenant in BC Place. It will host the World Cup. It's a great city. It's one of the better soccer cities throughout North America. It's a wonderful place to visit. But what we have there has to change. And right now, we're not necessarily on a path to do that. The premier, a couple weeks ago, we had a very positive meeting with the mayor. We're looking at getting a better lease at BC Place. Right now, there's been no movement on that. It's been a month. We're looking at trying to get a better dynamic for a potential soccer stadium. Our owner's been talking about that for a year. There's not much movement there. We are in the business of delivering for those people that really, really want to have an MLS team that they can love and embrace. And that's not just fans. They've done that. You need to have cities and provinces do that, and we're still waiting to see whether they'll be able to deliver. And if they don't, we're going to have to make some tough decisions.
We're going to have to make some tough decisions. In addition to that, the report out of The Athletic detailing a handful of cities, investors from acting on behalf of these handful of cities that would be interested in relocating the Whitecaps. First, just how does that grab you? You've heard commissioners speak across a number of sports here, Jeff. How did that hit you?
Yeah, I mean, it's power play without doubt. And I get it. Like, it is unbelievable the lease arrangement that the Whitecaps have with BC Place when you see 52,000 in there for that game against LAFC, and you know that the Caps aren't getting a dime out of any of the hot dogs or the beer or anything that's sold at the concessions. It makes no sense. Like, it feels to me like there has to be some wiggle room there to make this work. This soccer team has done everything to prove that it could be holding the trophy here by this time on Saturday. It's lived up to its end of the bargain. The fans have supported this. Again, we're looking at close to 30,000 going to BC Place for a watch party to take in this MLS final on Saturday. And yet through it all, like, it's fine to keep talking about a soccer-specific stadium. That's not going to pop up overnight. But there are solutions in the short term. BC Place is not a perfect building for the Whitecaps. We get that. But I think it can be their home until they get a better solution. But some of that's going to have to come with a reworking of a lease that just doesn't work for the soccer club and clearly doesn't work for MLS.
I want to be clear on what you just finished up with there. I had a chat with Don Garber a week and a half ago when he was in town 2 weeks ago, I guess. And I asked him explicitly, okay, if you get a great deal with BC Place, like a really humdinger of a great deal, would you be fine just staying there? Like, what if you get a blue sky arrangement where you get a great concessions package and a better playing surface? Would you stay there? No, they're not interested in that. They do want to build towards a soccer-specific stadium with grass. So that is modus operandi for them. It's not all bad news. Patrick Johnson of the province, he wrote about this just hours before the Athletic report came out. And in his chat with Axel Schuster, it was far more optimism. Yes, there's that theoretical possibility of moving, but Patrick Johnson alluded to an investor being in attendance for the LAFC match. I can confirm I was at a watering hole before the match where there was two prospective Whitecaps investors at a nearby table. So there was more than just the one.
Look at you. That's
how you roll. Yes. They weren't at my table. Let's be clear. I'm not that high roller, but and then that was the brochure that was rolled out in front of him, Jeff. 54,000 people. Like, that was a pretty good sales brochure for any prospective owner, not to mention the however many thousand that show up for the watch party tomorrow. I mean, that's pretty incredible stuff here, Jeff. I don't know how the league, and I understand what Don Garber was trying to do, but you don't walk away from those sorts of things. Like, even the NBA, maybe they shouldn't have walked away from Vancouver. Maybe it was salvageable, maybe it was savable. But there was attendance woes, and you can't say that about Vancouver.
No, and that was a different time, and obviously the dollar was way worse than it is now. And with the benefit of hindsight, we know that there was never any intention of keeping the Grizzlies here in town. But you're right. I mean, with what the Whitecaps have done all season, with what they put on the pitch in that game against LAFC, again, the support around this group for the watch party, I would have to think that has swayed potential investors. Even if they thought about like buying this team and moving it, you have to reconsider the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And I know that MLS has a bunch of cities that it wants to get to still, and someday might, but we're talking about a World Cup host city. We're talking about soccer absolutely on the rise here in Vancouver. Like, how could MLS turn its back on this market? And that's why I said, like, it's all part of the power play. It's a negotiation here. And I get that they don't want to be at BC Place long term, but unless somebody has a way of building a stadium overnight, there has to be a short-term solution here. And to me, that just feels like everybody getting in the room, being adults about this, and finding a way to make it work with the lease arrangement at BC Place.
And add this to all the talking points you just brought up there. Remember, the president of CONCACAF, the number 2 at FIFA, and hopefully one day after what we saw at the World Cup draw today, hopefully he's the number 1 sometime soon. But Victor Montaliani is a Vancouver guy, like the second most senior official in all of global soccer is from Vancouver. And let's just say, I don't want to out Victor here. He makes his presence felt in conversations such as this. He was there when Don Garber visited. He was alongside Don Garber. That was no secret. But this makes it sound bad, he sticks his nose into some things. And I mean in a helpful way, in a guiding way. I just don't see, no matter where this lease goes with BC Play, I just don't see him letting something happen to what is very clearly a viable franchise here in Vancouver. Let me tell you about Yellow Dog Brewing releasing the Big Kappa Copper Ale, 10 years deep, and they're still keeping it smooth. Yellow Dog, the Jeff O'Neill Show at the legendary Seafox radio station. They're back for a 10th annual collaboration this year. The Big Kappa is running the show. It's a copper ale pouring rich and golden brown, smooth malty backbone, touch of caramel sweetness, just enough bite. It's got it all. If you don't know, now you know. The beer that's worth sipping, the Big Kappa from Yellow Dog. I'm excited about the match tomorrow. I'm not excited about the kickoff time, Jeff. It's a little bit early for my taste at 11:30 a.m. for us on the West Coast. But I hope the fact that it's for free on Apple TV, it's on TSN. People were clamoring for cable access. You're going to get it there. I'm very curious about what this television number is going to be. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know where to guess, Jeff.
Yeah. Do we know why it's in that sort of afternoon window? I mean, Saturdays obviously are college sports days in the U.S.
Trying to get out of the way, maybe, but
we're conditioned to big games being in the evening. Whatever the case, they're going to get a massive attendance or viewership here on the West Coast. People will be locked in. It's not 9
the answer,
in the morning.
Jeff, might be beyond that. It might be about the global number. They might be thinking about the global number.
Yep. I suppose that's quite possible. And so 11:30, like I've seen people say, oh, it's so 11:30. Come on. Like I've had breakfast. I'll have had lunch by 11:30. It's not that early, and it's a game for a trophy. So find a way to fit it into your schedule. The two sides will be ready to go, and we'll see how it all plays out. I'm excited. I'm confident in this Whitecaps group. That doesn't mean that they're going to get it done, but I just think they have earned every benefit of the doubt. Jesper Sorensen has prepared this team through all the obstacles that they have faced throughout the season. Technically, emotionally, spiritually, they're going to be ready. And I love the way that they have played the first halves of both of their last 2 games. The way they, took it to LAFC, got the lead, built on it. Obviously, there was a little letdown in the second half there. But the way that they came out and did the same thing in San Diego and built a bigger lead and got it right, there's no guarantee that they're going to be up 3-0 at the half, but I just love the way, and I hope that they approach this game the way that they have. Now, Miami might have something to say about it. There's 2 teams out there, but I just have loved the approach that the Whitecaps have taken in each of their last 2 games here.
I legitimately think it's 50-50. I think it's a pick 'em. And it's only risen to that because of how well Miami's played in the playoffs and in the last third of the season, basically. If Miami had played sort of the way that they played in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, coming into this final, I would have thought, no, I'd go 65-35 Whitecaps favor. But Miami's just playing so well. Like we've said all week, they are a different team. I legitimately think it's 50-50. I wouldn't be surprised if either team took this, and that should put everybody to the edge of their seat. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hesitate to make a topic turn here, Jeff. We go from all of this positivity about a championship for the Whitecaps. The planets aligned in a different way for the hockey team in this market last night. Matt and I previewed the possibility yesterday, and rarely do the bad teams come through with multiple victories, but that's what happened on the out-of-town scoreboard last night, Jeff. The Vancouver Canucks are now the worst team in the National Hockey League by points and narrowly in 31st by points percentage, but they have to win tonight to avoid that title as well. I mean, this is a smelling salt and then some for the organization, isn't it?
Yeah. Even though we've watched and documented this season unfold the way that it has, as I saw those results go up last night, there was still this sort of unshakable thought in my head that how are the Vancouver Canucks, who were built to compete this season, like they were trying to be good, and at around 9:30 Pacific time on December the 4th, there was no team behind the Vancouver Canucks in the overall National Hockey League standings. Like, you're left to shake your head, and if you are one of those ones that looks at points percentage, they're 31st. That part is true, but imagine thinking, Blake, for a sec, the Canucks have 2 games in hand on the Calgary Flames to claw their way out of the basement. Like, whether they're 32nd or 31st by points percentage, this has been an unmitigated disaster, but there's just something a little different when you look at the standings and you are dead last, that there is number 32 attached to your name, and that's where this hockey club is. And again, like 1 win in 7 games, 2 wins in 11. It's not a surprise that they are where they are. But at the outset of the season, man, if you had told me that this team on December the 4th was going to be dead last in the NHL standings, I would have said, how? How would they fall that far, that fast? And yet, proof is right there. It was on the screen a moment ago. They are the worst team in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, the buts fall flat when you're dead last. Yeah, but we've injured. Doesn't matter. Other teams have injuries. You're last in the National Hockey League. And that's why I mean, I know media can be guilty of building things up into something they aren't, that we're nowhere near mathematical elimination because of the calendar, nowhere near it. But I do think it's a big 4-game homestand. I think it's a big 2 nights ahead here for the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, it's one thing to be 4 games below 500. If you're 6 games below 500, I mean, there's no climbing out of that hole. There's just no change. You have to be the best team in the league from that point on. And we know this is not a roster that is capable of doing that. So it's just foolish to think that they can sink any further than this and salvage anything. And of course, that's the rhetoric that we're hearing from the team, is that they do want to try to salvage something. They've got a team that is beatable. I mean, everybody loves the Utah Mammoth. They play a pretty fun brand of hockey, but they're not a first-place team. So they are a beatable team. The next night's going to be much harder with the Minnesota Wild. But how much importance do you put on these 2 games here for the Vancouver Canucks?
Well, almost none in the standings. Again, if they move back in front of Calgary on their 31st tomorrow morning, big deal. But I do think at a much higher level organizationally here, and this just happens to be the 4-year anniversary of the biggest single-day house cleaning in franchise history, when Jim Benning and John Weisbrod and Travis Green and Nolan Baumgartner were all shown the door, and then a few days later, there was residual effects as well. So timing's everything in life. 4 years to the day that the Canucks made massive organizational overhauls. Like, if they lose and lose badly to Utah and Minnesota, They play again on Monday. Detroit is in. And then there's a couple of days before Buffalo is in to wrap up the homestand here. But, what is it going to look and feel like at Rogers Arena? Will there be visceral reactions? We have seen jerseys thrown on the ice in the past. We have seen or heard chants for change in management, ownership. Like, I kind of feel like we're at that point in time, a little bit of a tipping point here, if things continue to go sideways, and they have all season at home. And so, you're right, Utah got off to a great start. I think they won 8 of the first 10. Then they had some issues. They just walked into Anaheim and slapped the Ducks 7-0 the other night. And the Ducks have some goaltending issues right now. But still, this is a Utah team that's capable. They've got a ton of young talent. So it's not going to be easy. And then, as you mentioned, quick turnaround, back-to-backs. Minnesota comes in here, and I know they lost to Calgary, but that snapped a, 8-0-2 run. They played the guy that was supposed to be their starter all season, Philip Gustafsson. He got the Flames game because they've got the hottest goalie in hockey, and it looks like they're saving him for the Canucks on Saturday night. Jesper Wallstedt, who's pitched 4 shutouts in his last 6 starts. So you're going to be a Canucks team on the back end of back-to-backs, and you're running into a goaltender that's just given up absolutely nothing. So it's a difficult weekend, and right now every weekend is difficult when you are the last-place team in the National Hockey League. But I wonder, the mood at Rogers Arena, there's almost been acceptance. It kind of feels like apathy's kicked in on a lot of nights here, but I do wonder if the paying customer voices his or her opinion a little louder than we have seen in some of the other recent home games here. So everybody be on guard. It's going to be an interesting weekend at the very least at the Raj.
Well, let's talk about goaltending for the Canucks and Kevin Lankinen getting the start tonight versus the Mammoth. If he's great, do they have to, because of Wallstedt and the team that's coming in, do they have to throw him up back-to-back? They've done it already. Tolopilo is the backup right now, and he looked okay, in his cameo. Or do they save him for Detroit? What do you think is likely? Do they need to see what Lankinen looks like first?
Yeah, with 3 games in 4 nights, it wouldn't surprise me if they turn to Tolopilo, who has delivered the only victory in the last 7 games. He got the win in Anaheim. And left for baby duty. His wife gave birth to a little girl. He went back. He played a game in Abbotsford the other night, got a win there. I know they've done it with Lankinen in the past, but I just think you're running the risk of, putting him in harm's way. And yeah, Thatcher Demko back on the ice, was yesterday, was again today. He's getting closer. Adam Foote had mentioned that possibly the Buffalo game at the end of the homestand, the return for Thatcher Demko, but the last thing they want is to have an injured Kevin Lankinen because he's working too hard here on back-to-back nights. When you have a capable guy that wants to show more in Tolopilo, and quite frankly, at this age, I kind of would like to see more of Nikita Tolopilo. So if it's me making the call, I'd probably split this weekend and then have Lankinen ready to go on Monday as well for the 3rd game in 4 nights. But I don't make the calls, and they don't consult me on these matters, so it wouldn't shock me if they ran Lankinen out both of these games, but I guess a lot of that depends on his workload here in the 6 o'clock start, we should note, on Friday night against the Utah Mammoth.
As for the guys tasked with putting the puck in the net at the other end, and that's been the MO for this Canucks team for the most part, is just outscore the other team, not shut down the other team necessarily. They will not have the work of Evander Kane, and not because of the arm injury, but because he's got the flu, as does P.O. Joseph. Both of those guys stayed away from the optional morning skate, which was fairly well attended. But that meant that they kind of would have liked Connor Garland to come back. This is what Foote had to say yesterday after practice regarding a couple of wingers on the comeback trail.
He's pumped up. I mean, obviously he needs a few practices with us. I think it's probably realistic Buffalo, but as long as nothing changes, maybe Detroit, but I it's a big maybe.
And what about Garland, non-contact jersey still?
Garland will be in the morning. We'll figure that one out tomorrow morning, but he had a really good day, so there's a chance he could be in tomorrow.
So the answer ended up being yes to Connor Garland, and they're not fast tracking Nils Höglander. That's who he started talking about. Sounds like the last game of this homestand for Nils Höglander, which will be a sight for sore eyes, but they certainly needed Garland if Evander Kane's not playing.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting at practice. I'm not sure I can recall this, but Garland started the day in a red non-contact jersey, and then midway through, poof, he all of a sudden was wearing white, and everything was good. Didn't see him talking to a doctor anywhere along the line to get medically cleared, but I was worried once he switched into white that teammate, all right, here we go. I'm going to take a run at you. It looks like, based on practice, that the David Kampf experiment at second line center, which never should have happened to begin with, but lasted too long, but they're going to put Max Sasson between Garland and Besser, so a little speed up there and a guy that at least thinks the game offensively, certainly more than Kampf ever has at the National Hockey League level. And Linus Karlsson, who got the promotion late in the game the other night, scored the only goal in Colorado, played the third period with Elias Pettersson and Evander Kane. It looks like Karlsson's going to get a chance to skate again with EP40. I would imagine Jake DeBrusk will move into the spot that's basically been Evander Kane's all season long, if in fact Kane can't go, and that looked and sounded like it was going to be the case here. So yeah, some moving parts. Again, what they've been doing hasn't been working for them, so why not switch things up? And I'm kind of curious to see what Linus Karlsson can do with this opportunity. I had a chance to talk to him yesterday at practice. He agreed that this 10-game stretch right now, the most comfortable that he has felt in the National Hockey League. Like, he feels he belongs now, and he's excited. Why wouldn't he? To get an elevated opportunity, probably some increased ice time, career high 16 minutes and change the other night against the Avalanche in Denver. So no problems with that. I think this guy's earned a bit of a promotion here. I don't know that it lasts. I don't think he's the answer in the top six for the Vancouver Canucks, but they haven't had many answers there. So really nothing to lose by giving Linus Karlsson a little bit of an extended run higher in the lineup than we've ever seen him.
Yeah, between Sasson and Karlsson getting these looks, I think it is incremental improvement in the top six. And then, of course, Garland to the mix, and that's a full stride forward at the very least. The other interesting note here for these back-to-back games is the ice time of Quinn Hughes, because it's now been an acknowledged conversation point with head coach Adam Foote, who spoke about it yesterday, and he acknowledged that he sees the dogged, again, Matt and I were saying dogging it or dog tired was sort of our phrase yesterday. And, Adam Foote suggested that it's dog tired, and that a lot of this is his own volition, staying out too long and pushing it when he shouldn't. And that's how he's getting above 30 minutes. Hughes spoke about it yesterday after practice as well.
I mean, of course. I feel like I've seen pretty much everything under the sun here, good and bad, and you want to win, and losing sucks. And I know everyone in here feels that way, and the coaching staff. No one's probably more competitive than Adam Foote, so just gotta something that I continue to get better at, and yeah.
He was talking about the viral nature of some of those videos about him appearing to not have the legs to get back and help out defensively. Do you think we see a change here? It's back-to-back. He can't play 64 minutes over these 28 hours inclusive.
Well, season high last week in Los Angeles was back-to-back. They'd played in San Jose. It was a Friday afternoon, so there was a little extra rest time in there, but still games on consecutive nights, and the game in LA on Saturday at 30 minutes and 13 seconds is the high watermark for him, the third time this year that he's been over 30 minutes. I will say I was in there as part of that scrum yesterday. Credit where it's due, because, look, we've talked about it. You guys have talked about it on your show. There have been some media availabilities where you can tell he'd rather be in a dentist chair getting teeth pulled, or just didn't have the appetite to engage. Whether somebody in the organization got to him, stood in there 5 or 6 minutes, was asked some pointed questions about his body language and performance and frustration. You heard the answer there. And so I thought he conducted himself the way that you would hope, and the way that he does most of the time. And it's been hard to watch here. Through all the losing that's gone on during his time as a Canuck, one of the few joys is going to the rink knowing that, hey, Quinn Hughes is going to be out there doing Quinn Hughes things, and at least I'll enjoy those moments. And we've kind of been robbed of those, although he did have the one move on Sam Malinsky there, where Malinsky's still spinning around in Colorado. But Quinn hasn't played particularly well. He's got 2 points in his last 6 games, which is not like him, and that came on the heels of that crazy run of 10 assists in 3 games. So I didn't get a chance to follow up with him, but one of the questions I would have liked to have asked is, the frustration that we're seeing from Quinn Hughes, is it related entirely to being 32nd and last in the NHL standings, or is some of it the fact that he's playing 30 minutes and he hasn't been able to impact games and ultimately the outcome of those games the way that he has in the past, where he believes that on any shift he can do just about anything and make anything happen. We're not seeing that as much. Obviously, you can never do it as just by yourself in this sport. It's a team game, but Kiefer Sherwood's gone kind of quiet. Brock Besser's gone quiet. Jake DeBrusk's gone 6 without it. So Quinn, you can look and say, well, he only got 1 assist in his last 6 games. Is it on him or is it on the finishers not converting on those opportunities? Whatever the case, I think there probably is an element of his frustration that just doing the things that he's done for so long in the NHL, they're not yielding the same sort of results either personally, but more importantly for the team right now.
Well, he's voiced his want to score goals in his career, be a goal scorer, be a direct contributor. And that shooting percentage is starting to get closer and closer to 0. My God, he does have the goal. He can't get to 0, but it's flirting. And you're right. I think that probably does add to some of the frustration. We'll see what he can do in these 2 games. And of course, you'll be on Rinkwide after both of them here. And again, an early start, 6 o'clock versus the Mammoth today. So we're guessing 8:45, 9-ish for Rinkwide to be available to you right here on the Canucks Army channels. So we look forward to that. A little bit of World Junior news before we leave the Canucks. And that is, I don't know if it was a long shot, but Wilson Bjork is going to the World Juniors with Sweden. The 2025 first-round pick has been named to the roster, and he's the with all due respect, the lesser of the Bjorks. Viggo, his younger brother, is a top prospect for the 2026 draft, but he is a prospect of decent repute here for the Canucks, and he's one of those guys. It's never a bad idea to bet on genetics, and he might be a later developer than his little brother is, but he still might develop, and the fact that he's making this group leads you to believe there is something there for Wilson.
Hey, a 5th rounder making a national junior team, like that, good on him. And I think you remember in the summer, like he had a bit of a coming out party at the summer showcase where if he was a long shot going in, really showed well. Hasn't put up huge numbers. He's playing in the NCAA at Colorado College. So I think there's been an adjustment there, but still, I think he did enough in the summer to get the eyes of the Swedish Hockey Federation that they wanted him to be part of this World Junior. So good on him. And yeah, look, there hasn't been a whole lot to watch with the Vancouver Canucks or the Abbotsford Canucks. So this time of the year, if you can get some prospects that are suiting up and wearing the colors of their country, it makes the World Juniors just that much more interesting.
And we know there's not a lot of Canucks prospects taking part, so it's the more the merrier, no matter where they've been drafted. All right, Jeff, this is back to soccer now, not the MLS Cup. It was a very big day on another front. The World Cup draw, which will do ratings larger than anything the NHL could possibly dream of, despite the fact it was amongst the worst abominations of a broadcast of an event that I have ever seen. The politics, grotesque, the entertainment, beyond description, I think, at times is the best way of putting it. And also stuck in an era that, I don't know what year they thought it was, but the entertainers that they brought out, I don't know. It was something to behold. Let's just get to the news, Jeff, and that is we found out.
You don't want to sing a few bars of the anthem that they tried to force upon us, the World Cup anthem. And do we know, has Gianni Infantino stopped talking yet? Is that guy is so full of himself, although
he's awfully full of Trump, too.
Yeah. No doubt.
God. All right. We've been wondering, who does Canada face in the group stage at the World Cup as Canada tries to exit the group stage for the first time? And we still don't know is the answer, because one spot still to be decided, and it's the worst spot. This is the pot 4 was the biggest fear. Keep it up here for a bit, Mike, because we need to get through all the possibilities. Qatar and Switzerland, first of all, that's who's coming to Vancouver.
Right.
We'll get that out of the way. We'll get to that in a second here with you, Jeff. The last team, we don't know yet. One of Italy, Northern Ireland, Wales, or Bosnia-Herzegovina. And obviously, based on on reputation, you would think that is Italy. Now, save room for some, and the British Isles and such are pretty amped up about this World Cup because Scotland is in, Ireland has a chance, England is in already, and Northern Ireland and Wales are still alive. So everybody's clamoring to get a spot. You never know. This could be a Cinderella run there, and Italy has choked before. But if it is Italy, that could be a problem, and it also could be kind of cool to watch because it would be in Toronto, particular match, Canada versus Italy, in the biggest expat location in Canada for Italians. But let's go local here first, Jeff. Qatar and Switzerland, not exactly big names, but again, we went through this debate. Who do you want? Big names that'll beat Canada, or middling names that give Canada a chance? And Switzerland's above Canada in the world rankings. But that's a winnable game, and Qatar is below Canada.
Yeah, I think you want winnable games in the group stage, knowing that bigger names will be coming this way in the knockout stage. The Swiss are ranked 17th. Qatar is ranked 51st, so just to sort of give people a sense of the level of competition there. And then, team to be named later, and we'll see where that one goes. But I think all things considered, from what I've seen in the experts' opinions that I've read, that a fairly favorable draw, all things considered, or I think opportunity presenting itself there for Canada. But it's hard to say that without knowing who that fourth team ultimately is going to be. And we should mention that won't be determined until the last weekend of March. So we're still a few months away from fully knowing who's going to make out the rest of the field here. And it's not just Canada's group. There's a bunch of these playoffs. I think there's 4 other playoffs to go. But on Saturday, we will find out the full schedule of games. So, I've got tickets to a game, just a game, not a Canada game, but I got tickets to a game on Father's Day Sunday. Still don't know who's going to be playing, but I will know on Saturday when they start to fill out the actual schedule for the entire tournament.
Let's remind people of those dates. Mike, if you could bring up Ben's tweet there, the dates to come and the dates that are already known. So again, in Toronto, Canada, against one of those European foes on June 12th, the 2 Vancouver games, the 18th and the 24th. And then round of 32 possibly later if Canada is still involved. The other 3 matches to take place in Vancouver in group play will be announced tomorrow. So that's what we'll be keeping track of tomorrow as well. Who else might be, and that's where you might hope for the big name teams. Right. Canada doesn't have to face them, but you as a Vancouverite get to see them, or as a British Columbian get to see them. And also with that play-in, Jeff, that gives you something to sort of watch.
For sure.
There's a vested interest now in that March play-in tournament.
Yeah, and the one other thing that was determined today, even though the full schedule isn't out, but the way the pots were drawn, the tournament will start June 11th, the first game, South Africa at Azteca against the Mexicans. So that'll be a spectacle in and of itself to kick off the tournament. And Canada starts the following day, the 12th, but the tournament gets going, and we now know that South Africa will face Mexico in the World Cup opener.
Pretty fun stuff. Let's get to today's show menu, brought to you by Greta. And on our guest list today, Robbie Williams. No, he was busy at the World Cup draw, I'm told. We're going to go with Rob Williams instead from the Daily Hive. We'll get into Canucks versus Mammoth. Fan interest for the Vancouver Canucks. Is it salvageable this year? And we'll cross-reference that with the Whitecaps vibes, which, of course, have been out of sight with the watch party closing in on 20,000 tickets sold already. Manuel Veth will join us from TransferMarkt on Müllermania. The German-Canadian will tell us what the vibes have been in Germany watching Müller as a Vancouver Whitecaps. His take on the Whitecaps' possible starting 11, and he's a little bit different than what Ben Steiner had a couple of days ago for you. He wants some changes. And then we're going into the Whitecaps room. Yohei Takaoka, goalkeeper extraordinaire, on his crazy assist versus LAFC, and if that's repeatable, if Japan is jumping on board with MLS Cup like Germany is for Müller, and on the rotation of defenders that he's had in front of him, and that's part of those changes we're going to talk with Manuel Veth about, is who is going to be in that back line for the Whitecaps now that they do have Tristan Blackman in there. But, of course, they had a winning back line that did not include Tristan Blackman. Do you just roll that back out? We want to mention as well, and you'll be here for this, Jeff, the Army Christmas party coming up on Saturday, December the 20th at Greta Bar YVR. Doors at 3:30. Tickets are free. Come join us. Watch some hockey. Spread some holiday cheer. You can wear your ugly Christmas sweater if you like. Prizes with your fabulous MC, David Quadrelli. It's all at 50 West Cordova. GretaBar.com for more info. Let the games begin. I'm sure you're looking forward to that. That's December the 20th again at Greta Bar YVR. Time for our Bet365 bets of the day. We've been talking a lot of soccer, Jeff, and I know you are now inspired to look ahead here a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Taking a look at World Cup futures, Bet365 got the line on all these teams that are coming this way for the World Cup. Spain is the betting favorite right now at plus 450. England at plus 550 is second best. You got France and Brazil along with Argentina all at plus 800. As for Canada to win it all, you can get them at plus 25,000 right now at Bet365.
Doesn't take much for that to hit, does it? I'm looking at hockey. Quinn Hughes is due. He's settled down. You talked about that tone. Maybe that leads him to sort of excellence extraordinaire here. Now that he's sort of come to grips, I have been frustrated, and I can do better with that. He's just due, statistically speaking. Mammoth, I think they'll open things up a little bit. I don't know if it'll be to the Ducks Avalanche level. I think maybe to the Avs level, probably not the Ducks level, but we'll see. And Hughes has had some rest here. The schedule has been favorable for the Vancouver Canucks as a group. 2 points tonight for Quinn Hughes. He is due for a multi-point night. It's paying $2.90, which is not too bad for a Quinn Hughes 2-point night. This segment of presentation of Bet365. Whatever you bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app. Get in on the game. Use the code NATION. Must be 19 years of age or older. Please play responsibly. Jeff, this was fun. Thank you very much. And we're going to listen in our conversation with Rob Williams from earlier this morning, but Last Chance Live to say thank you for this. And we'll be listening on Rinkwide Live later on tonight as well. As mentioned, it's not Robbie, but we love him none the same. It's Rob Williams from the Daily Hive next. Welcome back to Sakaris and Price, and we are from the mobile Pacific Toyota Studios today, and welcoming in the Daily Hive's Rob Williams. Rob, how are you?
Doing great, fellas. How are you?
Very well, very well. A couple of games back-to-back this weekend for the Vancouver Canucks. We could draw artificial lines all we want of, if they lose these two, the season's really over. We've probably been able to do that for much of the season. But these 4 home games do seem rather critical because teams can go on a 3 or 4 game winning streak. If the Canucks did that, they'd be back at 500. Anything less than that for this Canucks team, though, in particular, if they have a losing record in these 4 home games, I mean, it truly becomes out of reach at that point for any bounce back, no matter what they keep saying.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the next 4 games are going to matter much in terms of is it out of reach? Is it not? I mean, in theory, they could. There's lots of season left. They could storm back, make the playoffs. I think in practice, though, you look at this group, and this group does not. They don't have the horses, right? So I see very little hope in terms of them actually coming back and making the playoffs. It's the thing I'm interested in now is you look at the standings They're at now 32nd by points, 31st by points percentage. They're even worse at home. This is the thing that has continued, and I just like they go on the road. At last season, they were like the worst team in the league at home. They go on the road. They're actually kind of like a mid-pack team. Like they're actually like weren't a bad team on. Like when you look at their road record, they're actually pretty decent on the road. This season, they are dead last at home again, and they come home and they're not quite mid-pack, but they're like they're like the 20th best team when they're on the road. So I'm really interested to see both in terms of like I think all hope is lost in the season. I think you want to see positive steps now from your young players, the DPDs of the world. You want to see those guys advance. You want to see their trade chips, keep boosting their value. But in the here and now, I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, what's the fan support going to be like if they come home and rattle off a few more stinkers like they have all of last season and all of this season as well?
And I think that's where we are with this club right now is that, and it just so happens it's the 4-year anniversary of the biggest house cleaning in franchise history. And of course, we all know what precipitated that. It was a brutal loss at home to Pittsburgh, jerseys on the ice. And the next day, pretty much everybody was let go. So here we are 4 years later. Like if this homestand doesn't go well, beyond empty seats and those types of things, like does it get ugly at some point at Rogers Arena?
I feel like there's too much apathy for that. I think people are too like checked out to throw a jersey on the ice. I don't feel like there's the anger necessarily in that sense. What was that game where the Canucks had an absolute stinker? They didn't even get booed off the ice. People just kind of sat up and just walked out. And I think that's where we're at.
That was the Calgary game. Yeah.
I think that's where we're at right now, where it's kind of there's just apathy. I think people are just kind of checked out a bit on this team. I mean, look, this is a passionate hockey market. People are never fully checked out on the Vancouver Canucks, but in terms of the games, you look at I saw that screenshot that was going around social media yesterday of the dirt cheap student rush ticket prices, $39 to get into the game. If you look at the secondary ticket market, those prices are dropping and dropping and dropping. You can get in now for some games under $80. Start of the season, you couldn't get into any game for less than, I think, $95. So I think you're going to see that. And that's particularly alarming in terms of like fan interest, because these are like Friday, Saturday night games, around the holiday season. They don't have many games right up to close to Christmas this year, but those are usually really popular. Like, what are we going to be looking at in March when they have all those home games? That's going to be interesting to see. And
the bloom is off the rose with the players too. The bloom is off the rose with the players too, Rob. Like, people are picking apart Fairweather fans like Michael Bublé. They are criticizing who's going to the children's hospital, who's not, who's submitting their favorite song and who's not. Like, I mean, people are just kind of done with this team, it seems.
I kind of share that sentiment, to be honest.
There's 55 games to go.
I know, but we've seen this group lose for so long. And I think it's one of those things where the thing you need and the thing you absolutely need is hope. And that's why it always seems kind of curious to me that teams are so like, they just do not ever want to use the word rebuild. They don't want it in their vocabulary. They think it's just this bad word that's going to scare everyone away. I mean, it's not necessarily every Canucks fan, but I think the majority of Canucks fans, if management came out and said, we are going to do a slow, methodical, tear it down rebuild, and this is our plan, would celebrate it. And if you had a bunch of players in here that were either draft picks, like homegrown draft picks, or prospects with some promise, and those guys were losing, I think fans can accept that. But to see guys that are now in their late 20s and their early 30s that have been here for a while, and you look at this roster and you go, never mind this season, what is the plan? And when there's no plan, there's no hope. I don't know how you sell that. And to me, they should be embracing the word rebuild. Even if they want to do it a little bit quicker than a lot of fans want, because that's the way to sell hope. And right now it doesn't feel like there's much hope.
I mentioned 55 games to go. This organization, for whatever reason, loves its back-end loaded home schedule, right? Like we see that all the time. And you pointed out they've got 2 8-game homestands still to come after Christmas. 22 of their final 35 are at Rogers Arena. So if student rush tickets are $39 today, they're going to be out on campus handing away tickets at that point. Like, I really do wonder what that's going to look like. And maybe it has to get to that to finally get ownership's attention that all is not well. If looking at the standings and seeing your team at 32nd isn't enough, maybe it has to take swaths of empty seats, even if they're paid for. Like, anecdotally, I don't know about you guys, but like I've heard friends are having trouble giving away Canuck tickets now. That just people don't have the interest in getting up off their couch and getting to the rink. It's easier to watch at home.
You just hope that fact doesn't kind of push ownership and management into panic moves to like push them from 32nd to 25th. You know what I mean? Like that, I think that's the big concern here. I mean, the lesson that should be learned is that we have a story up on Daily Hive that Trevor wrote recently, avoiding the betting blunders of the past, because it starts, hearing some of these reports from insiders, you start to go, oh God, like, are they going to do the same thing that they did the last time? Because this feels very much like 2015, 2016, Willie Desjardins era teams where you had the Sedins still kicking around, you had Burrows still kicking around, but there was no hope because those guys were well past their prime at that point, and you didn't have many good young players coming up. And I always think back to that Gustav Forsling trade where you had a draft pick that had performed exceptionally well at the World Juniors, and they flipped him for Adam Clendenning because they wanted to get they want to just kind of speed up the rebuild. They're trying to take a shortcut. And so many of those shortcuts turned into dead ends because what teams, and you hear them talking now, they want a roster player. Okay, great. I'd love to have a really good prospect that's 22 or 23 rather than one that's 18 or 19. But guess what? The guys that have real potential that are of that age, teams don't part with those players very easily. So if you get a bona fide guy that's like ready to step in and is more of a sure thing, great. But that's going to cost more, and teams are going to be much more hesitant to let those guys go. I think that's why rebuilding teams take draft picks, because you can get guys with really, really high ceilings that are more readily available and give you more hope for the future.
And you contrast the Canucks and all the vibes with them with the Vancouver Whitecaps, and my goodness, we're gonna lose those good vibes here pretty shortly with MLS Cup on the weekend. We just hope that we're not going to lose them for good, because there's all this stuff swirling now. The good vibes of the current team, and then the harbinger of doom of some of these reports, both good and bad. Patrick Johnson had an optimistic report, Athletic with a pessimistic one, and all this swirling around this fabulous team that everybody's fallen in love with.
Yeah, I kind of joked recently, like I love my job, but I kind of joked recently that the job goes from I get to watch the Canucks for a living to I have to watch the Canucks for a living. Where I think I'm also lucky is that I cover multiple sports, and I love that I can turn my attention to the Vancouver Whitecaps because they've been a joy to watch all season. It's funny, I just had this feeling in my stomach before the year where I'm like, geez, this is a big year for them. They need something positive to happen in terms of all the stadium and ownership stuff. And I had in my head, like, man, wouldn't it be great if they could go on a run, go make the playoffs and get the city excited. I didn't see this coming, though. This has exceeded, I think, anyone's wildest expectations on what we've seen this season, both in terms of, Thomas Müller is the guy that gets the headlines, and everyone's absolutely fallen in love with him. How could you not? What an engaging personality. His teammates, you hear, you see the comments from them. His teammates love him. Like, he's just no ego. I had a friend of mine talk to me who was saying, like, I love how, like, unserious he is, like, in terms of, like, interviews and whatnot, always joking and has this, and he kind of has this perfect balance of being unserious, but also, like, the most serious guy about winning, right? Like, all the talk about him coming to Vancouver, like, why did you come to Vancouver? And it was like to win. And, like, I believe it. Like, he's so serious about winning and creating this wonderful culture of winning with the Whitecaps. But at the same time, like, he can, he doesn't take himself too seriously when it's away from the pitch. He can have a laugh, but you also know that he's more serious than anyone about winning. And I would love nothing more than if they can. They got to bring home a championship here, right? We've been starved. I celebrated my 10 years at Daily Hive recently. I have not. The biggest championship I've seen so far, I think, is the Vancouver Canadians winning the Northwest League, or if you count the Canadian championships for the Whitecaps. So
the Vancouver Rise just won a national championship, but it's a smaller
Vancouver
league.
FC as well. I did watch that one as well. But yeah, let's see one where let's see one of the big three teams in our city. Obviously, the Canucks are number one with a bullet, and then I think the Whitecaps and Lions are right there. It would mean a heck of a lot to the city, I think, if the Whitecaps could bring it home.
We don't know how MLS Cup is going to finish, but I saw you post on social that we know how it's going to start on Saturday, and I thought this was really cool that. We just watched the World Series where anthem singers were butchering the Canadian anthem. If you leave it to the league to round up artists, it doesn't always go right. But somehow the Whitecaps are able to produce their own quartet of powerhouses that sing here at BC Place, and they're going to take them to Miami. I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. So Marie, Elizabeth, Emma and Ariel are all going to Fort Lauderdale. They're going to be singing the anthem. I call them the Power Quartet. They've done a few games. They've done a few games in Vancouver. I think extra special for Marie, who was the anthem singer from day one for the Whitecaps. So cool to see that she's going to be going down there. But yeah, avoids like a bit of an awkward. I always think back to that Las Vegas CFL guy that did a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Appropriate with the holiday season.
They could have defaulted to Gretzky singing the national anthem or something. No one wants that.
So that's going to be cool. I've heard the Whitecaps are also there's a massive number of, I'm not sure if it's all of their staff, but basically all their staff are going down there as well. There'll be the Southsiders will be there. There's going to be a huge Vancouver contingent in that stadium. So it's going to be really cool to see. And I think it's a great idea for the Whitecaps to bring them down. Also should note the watch party at BC Place. I don't know if you guys have talked about that already, but that's starting. You look at on Ticketmaster now, they've got the full lower bowl open, and the only available seats now are just on the ends. I think there's a possibility for a lower bowl sellout. They'll have to do some more work today, but I think if I know the Vancouver sports fan, they love an atmosphere, and I think it's going to be a cool atmosphere at BC Place for the watch party.
We've talked about it already, but it's why I'm not terribly worried about the tough talk and the reports. They don't walk away from markets where 24,000 people gathered together to watch it on TV. I'm just not going to go there just yet, but we'll talk about that after the championship game here. Rob, thanks for doing this, and we'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center, and we're joined now by the most famous German in British Columbia before Thomas Müller's arrival in August.
Yes, I was like, I think there's another one, but yeah.
It is Manuel Veth from TransferMarkt from his home in Victoria. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Enduring 24 more hours of rain and misery before we all heading to Miami. So, yeah.
Well, some of us are headed to Miami, Manuel. Some of us are headed to Dawson Creek, BC.
Sorry, Blake.
Buddy, this has got to be amazing stuff for you. As a guy who spent his first 17 years in Germany, moved to BC in 2001, and now has like Germany's most famous footballer ever here and playing for this team and playing for a trophy. Like, this has just got to be mind-blowing stuff.
Pinch me kind of
Yeah,
moments.
exactly, Manuel.
Well, it's weird, right? Because like a few years ago, we had Alphonso Davies move to my birthplace in Munich.
That's true.
And now Thomas has come the other way. So it's the second time that it's a weird pinch me moment. But yeah, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic for the city. It's fantastic for this club. One of my first jobs in journalism was to cover the Whitecaps as a beat writer for an outlet called Pro Soccer USA, all the way back in 2016 it started, right? So 10 years ago. And back then, no one would have thought they would ever be in an MLS Cup final, the way the franchise was trending. And this year has been so magical. It's the second trip to Miami, right? To play a big game there this year. I was in San Diego on last weekend for the semifinal. And, that too felt so very special. And there's just so many moments this year that have just been franchise defining, right? Like the run that they had in CONCACAF Championship, then the very good regular season that they were playing, then out of nowhere Thomas Müller signs, the Canadian Championship that they won, that put Thomas Müller on top as the most winning German alive in the sport, which is a big deal. And then of course this run in the playoffs, which now, is culminating in this meetup between Müller and Messi, which had so many storylines already to begin with. And I think it is not crazy that Müller and Messi are involved in this. I think the crazy part is that the Whitecaps are involved. And I think the other crazy part is they're going there. And I don't even think that they're an underdog necessarily.
No, we were saying that. Yeah.
We talked to you a couple of times back, shortly after Müller's arrival, Manuel. How has this played out based on what you anticipated and expected when he first arrived?
Yeah, he's always been a winner. That is his MO. His mission objective is to win everything there is in life, and he does it in a way that is likable. I think that is the best way to describe it. He does it in a way that is likable. There's so many athletes out there, including the one he's facing on the weekend, who are like almost like robots and machines and not personal and don't seem to have a life outside this game. Thomas Müller has always done it in a way that makes it feel like you and I could do it, right? And I think that is so very special and something that I didn't expect to necessarily happen here in this way that it has, but I'm not surprised that it did, because he was like this in Munich a lot too, right? I've been living here since 2001, but I still go over to Munich all the time, and I cover a lot of Bayern Munich games every season. And he was always the guy who was available to us, the media, right? He would always stop and chat and make a big point out of it. And if he didn't, he did it in a way that was funny, right? Because like he would like hold his wallet to his head and like pretend that he was on a phone or make jokes as he walks through. But like he is a guy who was very personable, and he's a winner. And I think we were all hoping it was going to be a good story, but not this good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a great point. He's a barstool guy, lowercase b. Like you just feel like if you saw him at a sports bar, like you could sit beside him, have a beer, and just have a conversation like he's a regular person, not this international superstar.
Well, a great objective look at this is Farhan Lal, she's covering for TSN. And I was texting with Farhan last night, and Farhan is kind of a fish out of water here. He's covering the MLS Cup, and it's the wrong kind of football for him, obviously. But he's like, these guys, and Muller in particular, like he's like, they're just great.
They're great.
You know, like he's blown away. And he covers a great sport too in CFL, where they're also very approachable. But having been around the rink too much, it's just a different experience.
Now, the level I was out there the other day for training, the level of cooperation. Of course, obviously these are very heady, happy times for the Whitecaps.
But they're also intense times.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And you deal with them on a week-to-week basis. And Nathan Van Son does a great job on the PR side, and they have really ingratiated themselves to our community and to our province.
I think there was a bit of a watershed moment a few years ago with all the scandals. And then Axel Schuster arrives, right? And the effort level since then has been a much better. And this season, of course, phenomenal. And I have to add this too. They're doing all this in probably the most in an environment that's been hardest for the press to have to work for, right? Because all of a sudden, a club that never gotten any attention is getting all the attention in the world, not just from us or Canadian media or national media, but US media. And when I was just in Germany a few weeks ago for the NFL Europe game, and Thomas Müller was in the press every single day there. And this is not just Munich. This was in Berlin. Like, he was in the press. There was like something about Thomas Müller every single day. Every German now knows where the Whitecaps are, and that is new.
Yeah. So that's a great question, Manuel, because last time you told us like he is Munich and Bavarian to his core, and obviously all fans of Bayern, everybody who's Bavarian or lives in Munich is a huge Thomas Müller guy. But you're telling me Berlin, Dusseldorf, like pick a city in Germany, they are Thomas Müller loyal at this stage.
Absolutely. He's in the paper all the time. It's really remarkable, right? So it's kind of comparable when Lothar Matthäus played for the Metro Stars. There was a lot of press for the Metro Stars. I mean, that is where the comparison ends, because that was not a happy marriage. I think this is a very happy marriage. But it's kind of comparable to that. So this is sort of the stratosphere that Thomas Müller is hitting. But that was in the late 1990s. This is in a time when there's also Instagram and X and
media
all
is
the
just
other
bigger.
social. It's just it's gone through the roof. Kicker, which is the biggest soccer outlet in Germany, one of the biggest outlets, period. One of the big competitor for the site that I work for, they have a story on Thomas Müller every day on their social media. But it's also because he's so easy to work with.
That's
right?
it.
Yeah, that's it.
I walked into the dressing room after the San Diego game, and he was like laughing and sitting there on a table where he was getting his calf treated and just like joking around. And then he comes to us, and we have a moment to chat before the camera goes on for the Zoom meetings, right? So we're just chatting, and he wears his like toque that I think he's still wearing now because he doesn't have another toque. But I looked at him, and I'm like, look at, like, he's grown this beard, right, which he's now finally trimmed, so that's better. I said to him, like, Thomas, like I said to him in German, you look like a hockey player. Like, no, I said, like, you're embracing the Johnny Canuck look, aren't you?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm looking like then he drops the F-bomb. I'm looking like a hockey player, right? Like, I said to him, like, maybe you should hang out more with Leon. And he's like, and then he said, well, the one thing that I finally caught up with Leon is that I've won a Western Conference final. Now I have to win the big trophy so I can stick it to him.
That's right. Do you think winning the MLS Cup would change his plans? He's pretty much intimated that he's in for next year. He's a lot of money waiting for him next year. And he hasn't played for a ton this year, so it would make sense for him to stick around. But does winning the Cup change the equation here in any way, shape, or form? Does it make him, and we asked him about it, and he was kind of sly about that shortened 2017 season as they switch calendars. But what do you think? What I say, 17? 27, yes. What do you think winning the MLS Cup does to the longevity of Müller here in Vancouver?
I think we'll have to see how next year goes. He's definitely committed for next year. I mean, there's that contract clause that the Whitecaps technically have to trigger, but, people that I speak to, that's a done deal.
Yeah.
Like, that is one of those clauses that is there for laughs. We all know we all know that is essentially already activated.
So they're not going to decline their option on Thomas Müller, is what I'm hearing.
No, that's not going to happen. But then I guess what happens next year is going to be really interesting to see how it works out for him. He has a nice little break in the middle of the season with the World Cup, which could be helpful for him. I think he does have ambitions to go back to Bayern at some point and take an executive role there. And I think this actually what he's doing right now here is really helping with that, because Uli Hoeneß, the big boss at Bayern Munich, said one thing that Thomas needs, he needs to go to North America and learn the trade there, right? On how sports franchises operate, how they do the merchandising, just understand that, because that's what Uli Hoeneß did when he built Bayern Munich into the brand is today. He went to America in the 70s and learned about merchandising and, talked a lot to the NFL teams, etc. So he kind of envisions the same thing. And I think that is sort of like what he's kind of doing on the side. And so I think much of it will depend on how much he can still get out of the learning experience. But, that shortened season is a good example. But, I talked to guys at MLS PA, the players union, and they said there's still a lot of question marks on how contracts are going to work once the calendar gets switched. And so, how are they going to make that work underneath the salary cap? Is there still going to be a salary cap in this form, right? Are they going to be able to maybe sign him to a different deal? What are the Whitecaps going to look like? We all know there were investors at the LAFC game that liked what they saw. So, I think there's so much going on at the moment that it's really hard to tell what he's going to do beyond next year. But, if next year goes well or the same way, or they don't win this year and he thinks that they can win next year and they're on the cusp, maybe that extends his career as well.
From my understanding, Manuel, there was multiple investors in the stadium that night, even sitting beside each other as they monitored what they might put their money into, which is an odd scenario, but
quite a commercial.
Yeah, it was quite a commercial.
If that doesn't set the hook.
It was also badly hidden from us.
Yes. Let's talk about the match here quickly before we let you go. My question has been all week, what the heck is the starting 11 for Jesper Sorensen? They obviously pulled one out of the hat there in San Diego, and I say that only in that I didn't expect them to look that good given the 11 that they had, but they were great. They could just run it back, but they've got the MLS Defender of the Year waiting in the wings, and Ryan Gauld has finally started to look like Ryan Gauld. It'd be very tempting to use those two amazing players. What do you think Jesper does?
I think Blackman is going to come back in, has to, right?
In V11, okay.
Yeah, you need to, because he's facing an enormous attack. Tadeo Allende has been incredible for Miami, right? It's not just Messi. But that's a good question. How do you make Müller and Gauld work together?
I think it's with three at the back, and I don't know if you make that change this late, right?
Yeah, and also I watched the Miami game against New York City FC, and that game ended 5-1, but there was a time where it looked closer, and Miami eventually picked off NYCFC on the transition. So that is something that you want to avoid at all costs. You want to be compact. You want to probably hit them on the counter as much as you can, which is a good argument to bring Gauld back in if he's fit, right? Because he's a little bit faster. Do you move Müller a little bit further back to help with the ball distribution? Right, you see that with older players, attacking players, when the career advances, that they just transition back a little bit, turn in from a 10 to maybe an 8. Is that an option? I mean, it's a good problem to have, and coaches always tell me good players will always play well together. You just need to give them the room on the field to be creative, and I think if Jesper is willing to do that, I think Jesper is less worried about what's happening with the attack and more worried about how the defensive and midfield unit is going to operate, right? That structure, I think structure is extremely important for him. The structure to have the players be disciplined when they play the ball out of the back. I think he's not really worried what Ryan Gauld and Thomas Müller and Ali Ahmed and Emmanuel Sabi and all those guys are going to do in the attack. I think that part, he's like, well, we're just going to let them do whatever they do. It's the stuff behind him that needs to be structured. And if we do that well, the rest will take care of itself.
Do you have a prediction?
I hate predictions because I'm always such a pessimist when it comes to results. I said 2-1 for Vancouver Whitecaps ahead of the San Diego game, and then put in brackets, but I'm worried that they will lose. I'm going to say 3-1 for the Whitecaps, but I'm always worried that they lose.
Your Prince. Manuel, thank you for this. Appreciate the time and the hits you've provided for us this season. Looking forward to Saturday.
Enjoy the match.
Yeah, enjoy the match.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to meet you in person.
Yes.
See you down there.
So, Kirsten Price from the historic Wall Center. We're joined now from Miami by MLS All-Star and Vancouver Whitecaps FC keeper, Mr. Yohei Takaoka. Yohei, thank you for the time here today. Appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been quite a season for Caps fans watching you guys play. Tell me, what kind of a season has it been like for you?
Yeah, it's been a good ride. And, one more to go. It's almost a big achievement for everyone.
Did you imagine that this could be the ride when you started this season? I'm sure you guys thought you were good. Did you think you were capable of doing this?
To be honest, no. But I believe what potential this team that we have. So yeah, we have. Yeah.
What kind of teammates do you have? Describe what you see in the room.
We have, when I came here, it's 2023, I realized that we have talented players, and but we're missing something. But this year, Jesper came in, we tried to do the new stuffs, the new tacticals, and we adjusted really well, and we're flying.
You are flying.
Yeah, you are. Tell me, how do you feel? What's going to be important in terms of trying to keep Lionel Messi and the Miami players from scoring on Saturday?
Yeah, it's got to be a massive part to win that game. We need to keep eyes on him. Not only Messi, but they have a lot of good players. So we need to be solid at any moment. Hold for 90 minutes, plus extra minutes, and that's what we have to do.
What do you have to say about guys like Ralph Priso and Matias Laborda, who have been shuffled around in the back line in front of you? And at times it's been close, but for the most part, that tandem, yourself, you've kept the goals. But what's it been like to see the rotating cast of characters, Bilal in and out and then injured? I mean, you've had to talk to a bunch of different guys in front of you.
Yeah. I've been playing with a lot of guys. I didn't count, but we have good players. For me, it's easy to play with them. So that because they have good quality. I'm just here to support them, and also they support me. So it's a good connection with them.
Talk about Ralph in particular, because he's a bit of a fish out of water. That's a midfielder playing as a center back. Were you surprised when he first started playing at that position? Were you surprised at what he could do?
Yeah, to be honest, yes. But I knew his quality that he has, and I didn't know that he's so good at 1v1 defending. He's athletic. He's amazing. He's not tall, but he's very strong and calm on the ball. So yeah, he's been amazing.
I want to ask you about a couple of moments from the LAFC match, Yohei. First of all, you are known as a fantastic passer and distributor of the ball. Even we were watching with a former professional goalkeeper who just couldn't believe how good you were at distributing the ball. Tell me about the assist to Sabi, what you saw, and Just your thoughts and your emotions as you saw him score off your assist.
Said it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, in the moment, I'm looking for the right timing to that long ball, and we knew it. We knew that they repress high, and their defensive line is very high, and Sabi is and me and good recognition each other. When I touched the ball, he already started to run, and just put the ball in behind, and he scored. Yeah.
And then people rushed to you, Yohei. Like your teammates flocked to you at that moment to celebrate around you. What did that feel like?
Yeah, I feel amazing. I didn't expect that, but some couple guys came up to me, what a goal, what a pass, and said to me, and it was one of the best moments for me here.
Does that goal open up other things in matches to come? Because you have to think that other teams are now worried about you doing that again. What does that do for your game plan in this match when you get the ball there in open play? Is that option open to you, or now do you have to look to a different option because they're going to have that one covered?
Yeah, for example, like against San Diego, when I have the ball. With a pleasure, they drop. So, they worried about it. I feel that if they drop, we have space in front of the number 9, 10, and I need to see where the space is. So it doesn't
It'll
matter.
be somewhere. Yeah.
It's a heads or tail, no?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Then the penalty kicks against LAFC, Yohei. Tell us, what was your frame of mind as you were sitting there staring down those LAFC players in penalties?
Obviously we 2 men down in extra time. Then I feel like if it goes to the penalty, I feel that we can win this game. I don't know why, but I feel that, and I stand in the goal, and I have confidence to save 1 or 2 shots, but they miss it, which is my save.
Was it a big relief, Yohei, when you saw those balls hit the post?
Yeah, it's I feel like the relief, and kind of we get I feel like we could get the momentum for the rest of the guys. Yeah.
I'm sure Japanese footballers know a lot about Korean footballers. Son's career, I'm sure you had followed it. He got the better of you on the free kick there. That was a hell of a free kick, but to stare him down in the penalty kicks and force him over the bar, that must have felt pretty good. It's not the save, it's not the big paw out, but to force him to miss. What did that feel like for you in your career to face a guy of that quality?
Yeah, I know he's what he done so far, and also in Europe and also international level. He's one of the best player in the world, and then I also proud of to be a same Asian player, and but he missed the penalty, but he scored 2 goals, so I feel like I'm lost.
No,
you didn't. But
you
I know
you
what
guys
you
are playing for MLS Cup on Saturday, so it wasn't a loss. Last question from me, Yohei. Would you be okay with penalties on Saturday?
Yeah, of course. I'm ready for that. We prepare for also penalty, and I'm ready for it. Yeah.
Are you nervous or excited? Which is more apropos here?
To be honest, it's between.
Yeah.
But I have confidence to save at least 2. Yeah. But
Well, you got a whole city and a whole province behind you here on Saturday, Yohei. We have loved watching you guys play this year.
Let me ask you before you go. We were just talking. Germany is watching Thomas Müller. Have you been getting feedback that Japanese coverage of yourself has increased, or is your country showing a little bit more interest in Major League Soccer this year?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know the number, but and also the Galaxy player, the Maya Yoshida, are working really hard to let them know about the MLS, and I think it's increasing a lot the last couple years.
Well, a picture of you holding a trophy will do a lot more as well.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And, of course, a huge year of international football ahead in 2026. Yohei, thank you so much for the time. Best of luck on Saturday. We appreciate this.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So here's some price from the historic Wall Center, the Pacific Toyota dealer studio built by Arbor Lee. You're louder when you're rested. Book your staycation here at the Wall Center, just minutes from the stadium and arena. Unlock that S&P rate. Call 604-331-1000. Some blackout date supply based on availability. Just finishing up here on the Whitecaps after Manuel and Yohei, and I'll be down there in Miami, so follow the S&P social media accounts, some photos, videos, interviews. We'll see what we can get up to down there. I was thinking about this on the drive-in today, Blake. If they were to win, I would be so incredibly happy for people like Bob Leonarduzzi and Carl Valentine, who have made this club their life's work, right? And who date back to the 1979 Soccer Bowl Championship, the last time Vancouver has had a moment like this with a soccer club. People like Nathan Vanstone, who we've had a working relationship with for 14 years, was a day one guy from their MLS existence, which began in 2011. For people like Greg Kerfoot and Jeff Mallett, who have financed this team through thick and thin, let's face it, mostly thin. This is less business and more a philanthropy project. At least it has been for Kerfoot and Mallett over the years. And I'd be especially happy for all those supporters, those folks who fill up the west end zone of BC Place, game after game, stand, sing, chant, all 90 minutes plus long. The Southsiders, let's shout them out. The Southsiders, Rain City Brigade, Vancouver Albion, the Sisters, Vancouver Coastal Guardians, and all those Caps on Tour crazies who spend so much time and money following this team around to all the away matches. You all deserve this. Enjoy every single moment of tomorrow.
Yeah, I think even the casuals, though, who need a little bit of a perk up here. We've spent a lot of today's show, yesterday's show, all the shows dragging this hockey team, deservedly so, for the way that they've played and been managed of late and coached. And I think everybody needs a pick me up, and the Whitecaps have already provided that, to this point. But if they can get to the mountaintop, scale the summit here, it's just the city needs this.
For sure.
The city needs a major championship to pick itself up a little bit. And whether you're new to the Whitecaps or you're one of the lifers that you talked about there, Matt, I think everybody needs a trophy here and a
celebration.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I hope they bring it home.
Yep. We talked yesterday about how important Andres Cubas is. Also his winning record against Lionel Messi. News out of Paraguay, his home country this week. Glass City interpretation here. Quote, there have already been talks between the clubs, and the midfielder has a strong chance of leaving in the next transfer window. Negotiations are underway. I have information that Andres wants a change of scenery, and it could happen. Look, I know it's frustrating for fans to see good players developed here leave for other leagues, but if they were to win MLS Cup tomorrow, the Whitecaps will have gotten every single penny out of Andres Cubas. He can make this move without any regret, just pure thank yous and well wishes to the Paraguayan if he is on to greener pastures.
I was a little bit worried. We've talked a lot about body language in recent days about Quinn Hughes. There's some body language I didn't love with Andres Kubas early in the season, but that's gone. And I think winning sort of helped eliminate some of that stuff. And I think he has really ramped up his game, seeing how close he is to winning a trophy. Every player wants to win a trophy. They want to have that legacy wherever they play. And I'm not diminishing what Andres Kubas has been. He's been amongst the best number sixes this team has ever had. But if
one of the best in the league and one of the most important players, I think you can argue.
But if of the key positions on the pitch, number 6 is part of the spine. It's a very important position. But I think it's the most replaceable.
It's more replaceable than your
bunch.
Attacking mid and your striker, right?
Yeah. So again, not to superfluously poo-poo that away and say that's no problem, but
well, and they have another great one right there in Berhalter, right? So
yeah, I mean he's a little more offensive minded. He's more of an 8, but you could move him back there if you needed to. Maybe Ralph
Priso has another act here.
Yeah. Maybe they rediscover him as the 6. We'll see.
The referee for MLS Cup is Canada's top official, Drew Fisher. And Blake, we have gone through the referee report card in advance of every playoff match to date, and we have been hoping to see referees who are not activists on the whistle. I almost hope that Drew Fisher is an activist on the whistle, given the way Miami plays. What can you tell us about Fisher?
Drew's very good, rather even keeled. I've got no issue. I think it's very interesting that the on-field officials, it is 50-50. It is 50-50. And then in the VAR booth, Caroline Chenard is there running things. So they have tried to be as fair appearing as possible.
Yeah.
Because, I think there probably would be some accusations of bias if it wasn't like this.
Mm-hmm.
Now the man in the middle is Drew Fisher, a Canadian. So,
I see that, and I see 3 Canadian flags and the head referee in the VAR, and I just hope there's not a controversial decision, particularly on VAR, that goes Vancouver's way, because I don't think I could stomach all the shouts.
Oh my gosh,
from South Florida if that were the case. You say there's a couple of American officials there, Blake, making it 50-50, but is Miami really an American team, or is it really a South American team?
Well, again, the perception of bias is going to be rampant in a number of ways. Yeah. Because as great as Mueller has been to this league, the league belongs to Messi in a lot of ways.
No, like in terms of equity.
Yeah, no,
like
there's that too. Never mind the marketing effort. So, again, I don't think there's any skullduggery at all. I'm not inferring that at all. I'm saying the perception by the fans is going to be there one way or the other.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how it's all disseminated.
Well, and I was at training this week, and I asked Matias Laborda, a Uruguayan, did he ever picture himself as a kid, like on a field with all these South American superstars that Miami has playing for a trophy? And he said, absolutely not. He said, but what I do know is, I played with Suarez once. They overlapped 3 months at Nacional. So he said he did have a book on the Uruguayan striker and, biter and diver.
Well,
Google homework there.
He's right in the nibble zone if he's playing as a center back. He might want to be a left back in this match.
No, like you could have like Uruguayan Matias Laborda and Suarez in the late stages, 1-on-1. That would be quite a scene. We talked yesterday about how this game will be a global event because of the presence of Messi and Mueller. How about this, Blake? MLS Cup will be broadcast live in Times Square in the heart of New York City on Silvercast Media's high-definition Megazilla. It is a digital TV display that spans an entire city block. You can stand there in Times Square and watch this match in the heart of a world capital on a screen that is a city block long.
Yeah, and that's the power of, and this is why MLS wanted to get into this affiliation with Apple is, there is a cachet there in the tech world, and now the streaming world as well, of being involved in one of the brand names on the planet.
Well, I mean, has been the biggest company in the world.
Yeah, so that was part of the play. Now, again, you can quibble here and there with how it's all boiled down between these two sides, but something like that, Major League Soccer will say that is worth $1 trillion to them.
I'm just looking. I say has been because
it's not
NVIDIA and Walmart are
exactly
big ones as well. And then how about this? How big is Lionel Messi? He's going on a banknote in Argentina. The Central Bank of Argentina has announced that it is issuing a 100,000 peso banknote. I don't know how much money that is in Canadian or U.S. dollars, sorry. Honoring Diego Maradona, of course, their great, late World Cup winning star, and then, of course, Lionel Messi. Blake, how many times do you get a chance to beat someone who's on official tender?
Honestly, what took so long to make that bill is more my reaction to that. He's not already on legal tender?
Somebody at the Argentine Central Bank should have answered for this years ago.
Like that looks like the kind of money I would expect in Argentina. Like that, there's nothing surprising there at all.
I love the photo of the two of them holding the World Cup trophy together over the globe. That is,
it honestly looks like it looks like fan art. Doesn't it?
Yeah,
looks like fan art.
And I'm glad they picked a younger Maradona to profile.
Yes.
So that's 7,651 Canadian dollars.
Oh, wow.
A nice round number there.
Wow. A $7,000 bill. Wow. Okay.
What I'm seeing is that perhaps only Lionel Messi will
be holding them.
Exactly. In his wallet.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And a big day for draws. So we should catch up on news from earlier this week. A draw that affected Canada. Not the beautiful game. The other big sport that came out of England.
Hey, they qualified early. It's an expanded Rugby World Cup as well, but Canada took advantage.
This is the hooligans game played by gentlemen as opposed to the gentlemen's game played by hooligans. We're talking rugby, 15-man rugby here. Canada has been drawn to Pool C for next year's World Cup of Rugby in Australia. They will face world number 6 Argentina. There you go. World number 8 Fiji. World number 15, Spain. Canada is ranked 25th, so we are the minnow at the world.
We are the minnow, and just came off a span of matches that were pretty unspectacular, taking on decent opposition, but they weren't able to pull one over on some guys that are in their rankings vicinity, Portugal and Romania, I believe. So yeah, they're gonna, but they've got a year and a half to tune up for it. And hopefully they can hit their stride. I'm glad that they qualified. They missed the last World Cup, and that was the first one they'd ever missed. And they have to make sure that they are back in it, no matter what size the tournament is, if it shrinks back down or not.
Yeah, I said next year's 2027.
Yeah,
for the World Cup of Rugby, and the World Cup of Rugby takes place over months because you can't exactly play rugby
every 3 days.
Every 3 days, no. We will get to poll question results and errors and omissions on Monday's program. Thank you, everybody, for taking time and making the show part of your day today, connecting with us. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.